guys, welcome to the May 2021 Lampwork challenge page. Challenge for the month is Murrini making. So I've taught you how to do a basic starburst Murrini. I've taught you how to make a heart freehand, and now I'm going to show you the using Optic molds. So this is an Optic mold that I purchased a long time ago when I first started making Murrini. And this particular shape is one that I use still all the time because it's hard to freestyle a star and make all the points even. So this is what it looks like. It's a big opening on the front side, and then on the base side it tapers down on the inside to a much smaller star down at the bottom. So I'm going to need a couple of tools. I might need a brass marver. I'm definitely going to use my brass tool here to potentially pat down the glass. I'll need 2 punties. I like to use Pandora sized mandrels or larger. These ones are a bit larger than the Pandoras. I will occasionally need a pair of tweezers, so they're always good to have around. Then you're going to need the 2 glasses that you want, or however many colors you want to do. I'm going to just show you a basic quick one. So I'm going to use white as my star, and then I'm going to surround it by lapis cobalt. So I'll have the makings of the star part of a flag bead. Okay, so we're going to start by turning on my torch. And the reason my torch pops is because with the oxygen concentrator, I keep it going all the time. I never turn it off. So that's what that oxygen, when you put the propane on, it pops like that. So I'm just going to put a gather of the white on the end of my big mandrel. And it needs to be a decent size, depending on how big your Optic mold is. These are the typical ones that I've seen, but I've also seen some that are in a graphite. They look kind of like they're in a graphite marver, and they look like they would be small. I tried to buy one once, but I never won it in the auction, so I have not ever seen one of those in person. I've only seen a picture of it, and that doesn't really give me a size idea of how big that's going to be. But this is going to probably be the same concept. You just need to figure out how much glass you're going to need to put in there. Now the key to when you put your glass in there, into the Optic mold, you don't want to shove your mandrel down in there after it. Otherwise the glass just goes up and around the mandrel, and your mandrel is buried into the center of what you are hoping to pull as your Murrini. So what you want to do is, once we get to that point, I'll explain it a little bit better, but you're going to get this big glob of whatever color you're using. I'm using white, nice and hot and molten, and then you're going to let it drip kind of almost into your Optic mold, and gently you're going to push down once it's started to harden up a little bit with your mandrel. It's going to be hard to show you because it's in a, I guess they're graphite. I think it's graphite. It's just a I don't know if they come in other materials or not, but graphite because it doesn't hold on to the glass. Okay, so this is kind of a cone. See, it's not quite a cone, but I'm going to get this really hot now, and I've got my Optic mold over here where you guys can see how I dip it in there. I'm going to get this glob of glass pretty molten. And then when I think when it'll fit in there, then I'm going to let it go in there, and I'm going to gently hold it. I'm not going to smash it down in there, because if you smash it down in there, you're going to get too much glass around your mandrel and not enough in the center. So you can see I've got a little star. I'm going to press down this front piece here. Just smash it down a little bit. You don't need to make those, you know, into the star shape again, because you have the crevices here that we're going to fill in. Okay, you can see the crevice there, and so there should be 5 of those, and I'm going to fill them in with my cobalt lapis, my lapis cobalt, or whatever it's called. So I'm going to get my lapis nice and hot and molten, and I'm going to keep my core white not molten. Oh, this lapis is poppy. It's trying to hurt me. And that was just one swipe. So I'm trying to fill in these crevices that are on my star. And I want to do it evenly, otherwise my star will be off center. So I'm going to do a swipe down the crevice, each one of those crevices, before I move on to the next layer. Okay, so that's 3 of them. And as you can see, I'm keeping that white base out of the flame. I can get it warm every so often, but it does not need to be super hot. It just needs to be warm enough so it doesn't pop off the end of my mandrel. So I'm just going to give some insurance heat. Now I'm ready. I've got a line of blue in each one of those crevices. Now I'm ready to swipe on 2 lines of blue in those crevices. 1 on either side of the white point that's coming up. Okay, so 1 next to that white point in the next crevice, and 1 on the other. So you can see 1 line here, 1 line, okay, 1 line there, and then I did the other second stripe there. You can still see some of that white coming through, which is fine. I will get that on the next set of swipes. But I'm trying to make this evenly fill in the crevices. Otherwise you'll get one point that's bigger than the other or off kilter. And now I'm on the last one. Doing the same thing on all of them. 1 swipe to the left and 1 swipe to the right. Okay, and now you can still see some white peeking through, mostly on the bottom where it was a thicker portion of that star was showing through. Alright, I'm just giving some insurance heat. I want to put some insurance heat onto my mandrel. Just make sure it doesn't pop off. Now I'm going to go all the way around it with the blue, and I'm going to do the swipe on method. So I'm going to start in one of these crevices where the white is peeking through. I'm going to do a line, and then I'm going to go right next to it, touching it, and add another line of blue. And I'm going to do that all the way around, making sure that my blue is molten and my white slash blue filled in areas are not. Okay, the actual core of my Murrini does not need to be hot at this point. It just needs to be warm enough to accept the glass. Just going around 1 swipe at a time. till I make it all the way back to my beginning. Okay, and I'm at the beginning. I have a nice blue layer all the way around. Now I'm going to use my marver here. I'm going to heat up a spot, and then I'm just going to kind of lay it down on my marver to flatten it. I'm just trying to get that top layer of blue to have less crevices in it. At this point, you would decide whether or not you needed another layer of blue, or if you wanted just a thin little area of blue around your star. Depends on how much of a background you want your star to have. Since I'm going to use these on a red and white striped bead, or a little American flag like bead, I don't want a whole lot of blue around my star, so I'm just going to leave it like this, and I'm just evening it out now to make sure there aren't any spots that look like they're really different, or they have a big divot in them, or anything like that. Alright, so this is going to be my star. It doesn't look like much at this from that angle because we had to smash down that front face. So now I'm going to make it so I don't lose as much of the glass as I might. If I just punty up here, all of that blue is not going to adhere to my punty, and so may or may not pull out evenly. So what I'm going to use is my little brass marver tool. I'm going to heat up kind of the edge of this blue and bring it over. So just swiping it down and bringing it over that white end. And what this is doing is it's capping it off without having to put that clear on there. So I lose less of the Murrini, and it makes sure that that blue is going to go all the way around that white star. Okay, so now I've capped it off with the blue that was already on there and was already going to be a waste glass. And I'm going to heat it up in the center. I'm going to heat up my other mandrel punty. I'm going to stick it in the center, and I'm going to go up, down, side to side, and that will allow it to grab hold of as much of that blue as it can. Now I'm ready to take off the other punty so that I can pull that blue down on that side. And to take off the punty, you just need to get the heat directly at where the punty meets the glass. Well, that was the punty that wasn't supposed to come off. So if that happens, you just reheat that spot really well. And you heat your punty really well. Stick it back in there and do your up, down, side to side. Try and convince it to hold on while you work on the other side. So again, I'm trying to get the heat focused on the punty I'm trying to remove. There we go. Alright, and then with my brass marver or magic wand or whatever you happen to have, you're going to heat the edge of the blue and just pull it down. And it should make kind of a cone almost shape on the end there. And you're going to heat up your mandrel, and you're going to heat up that spot where all of that blue converges. Stick your mandrel in, go up, down, side to side, and now you're ready to heat your whole Murrini so that you can do the pull down. Now when you're working this small, it doesn't take long to heat up. But when I get to, like, if I'm making a mermaid, and I've got shells, and I've got hair, and I've got a face, and a tail, and body, and everything else, it can get pretty darn large. The first Murrini mermaid I ever did was actually on a mini CC, which is this size flame, and it took me 8 hours to heat it up enough that I could pull it down. So that one, that's why I bought the Hellcat, so I could do that in 4 hours instead of 8 hours, because I have twice as much heat. So now, as you can see, I'm pointing my flame towards one end, and then I'm switching up and I'm pointing it towards the other end. You don't want to only be getting the center with your flame. You want to move your glass around so that it can get all the different angles. That's my water softener in the background. Sorry, it kicks on at the most inopportune times. Alright, so you can tell when your Murrini is ready to be pulled, when you can push it together and pull it apart easily. And when you can do that, then you want to continue to pull. And depending on how thick of a Murrini you want, is how fast you pull. If you want it to be a fat one, you've got to pull really slow. If you want it to be a skinny one, then you can pull faster. Okay, so that's the Murrini that I got out of that pull. I'm going to turn off my flame. I'm going to get my nippers. Whenever you're working with Murrini, you need to have these nippers on your station so that you can just nip things off easily. Nip off this end. And then you can see the little star in there. Cute little star. Really easy to make stars when you have the Optic mold. A little more challenging when you don't have the Optic mold. Now this glass on the ends is just wasted glass. I've gotten to where I'm pretty good. I don't waste a whole lot of glass. This I wouldn't consider as a whole lot of glass. So as you get better, you waste less glass. If you had a big chunk left over, you could put them into the kiln and wait until your arms are ready to give it a go to try and pull it out again. You would just get another punty to punty up the second side and then pull it out. But these guys aren't big enough to worry about doing that. Now this end isn't really, there we go. There's the star. And I did pull it kind of small because I want to put it onto a red and white striped bead, so I didn't want them to be super big. This is probably 4 to 5 millimeters, I think, ish. Alrighty, so that's how you use an Optic mold, or at least the type of Optic mold that I have. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thanks. Bye.